Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Before I get into today's review, just a reminder we do have a Patreon for the Gaming Gang. So if you're interested in supporting the website and the channel, there's a link to that down in the show notes. And of course, if you'd like to hang with the gang over on Discord, do have a Discord server, and you will find an invite link also in those show notes. So today I am going to be reviewing the upcoming More Prepared from Kobold Press. This 126-page hardcover is coming to stores in June. It'll carry an MSRP of $39.99. You'll be able to grab the PDF for $19.99. Or if you want to just get both, you can do so over at Kobold Press for $49.99. Having said all that, let's swing out over to the other camera because here I've got More Prepared. A few things to mention before we jump on in. First of all, my friends over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside. And then lastly, this contains 30 one-shot adventures for Tales of the Valiant. And that means if you are a player and your game master has ordered this, maybe they're thinking about picking this up, there are going to be some spoilers. In fact, I'm going to talk about one of the adventures in a little bit of depth. But even as we flip on through, you're probably going to see some things that'll spoil some of the surprises of these tales. So you've been warned. But of course, if your game master is thinking about picking this up, also let them know about this video. So that way they can be more prepared to make an informed buying decision. First thing we're going to do is take a look at the credits page. A lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life. Let's give credit where credit is due. As I had mentioned, we have 30 one-shot adventures contained within. Each of them clocks in between 3 and 4 pages. And as I said, these are designed for Tales of the Valiant, which also means you can easily utilize these with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And to be honest, I don't really see any issue converting these over to Dungeons and Dragons 2024, or as I like to refer to it, 5.5. Now, I will point out not every one of these adventures is going to knock it out of the park. We do have a few that are just squibs back to the picture, but all in all, very solid throughout. And even the weaker of the adventures in here offers something that a game master could utilize at their game table. Now, these adventures are designed to be very low prep, so you are going to find that most of them are pretty straightforward. There is a nice mix of combat as well as investigative adventures mixed throughout, so that is a nice touch to the proceedings. I also like the fact that there are some callbacks to earlier prepared adventures. This is the 3rd volume in the prepared line. And one of the adventures contained within, Daughter of Dib, features this goblin leader who has appeared in multiple adventures in the prepared line. And he's quite a bit of a character. He's got a bit of a superiority complex and also some serious delusions of grandeur. And I find that NPC to be pretty interesting, kind of funny. I could really see that NPC being a lot of fun for game masters to utilize. But Dib is not the star of the adventure. It is the daughter of Dib. So it turns out this little girl, her name is Petal, was in her family village, and the village is raided by the goblins, and her parents just happened to be away at that point in time. The goblins wiped out the village, but Petal is not a good girl. She's a bad girl. She's kind of a bad seed overall, very cruel, very petty. And of course, Dib took a liking to her and has put her in charge of one of his brigades of goblins. So there are some nice twists in many of these adventures. So, as an example, here, the little girl's parents come back to the village, and of course, they think she's been taken by the goblins, probably dead. And then all of a sudden, they start hearing rumors about this little girl accompanying these goblins. That's how the adventurers are brought into play. So, of course, your players are going to think, hey, we're off to go save this little girl. We're going to go rescue this little girl. And as they're looking for the goblins, they're approached by a group of goblins who want to hire the adventurers to get rid of Petal. So I like that nice little touch there. And we do see a good number of twists take place in these short one shots. As far as the production quality, very solid. I like Kobold Press art. I know some folks out there aren't super keen on it. I think it's fine. I enjoy it. As far as the production quality, it is a stitched binding and the paper stock is solid as well. So there is a peek inside, more prepared with an exclamation point from Kobold Press. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. As I mentioned, not every one of the 30 adventures contained in the volume are home runs. In fact, some of them are fairly weak, at least in my opinion. But all in all, on average, they are very solid, quick, one shot adventures for you to jump on board with. Now, even the weakest of the tales does have something that a game master can utilize and have fun with at the game table. Do also want to point out a good many of these are very linear, so you're not going to find too much sandbox adventuring in this collection. As far as the artwork and cartography, very nicely done. In fact, the cartography I could see looking really nice as long as it's included in a high enough resolution for virtual tabletops. I don't believe this has been ported over yet for a VTT. I would guess that is probably something which is on the horizon. Myself personally, I find a good number of these adventures would be an absolute blast to bring to the table with my players, and some of them I would simply just take a pass on, or maybe try to kit bash some of the elements of those adventures together for my game table. There's a lot to really like in More Prepared. I especially dig some of the callbacks to the earlier adventures in the Prepared series. I think that's pretty cool. So, on a scale of 0 to 10, I give More Prepared from Kobold Press a 7 out of 10. Like it quite a bit. Of course, your mileage is going to vary because your group and my group probably like different sorts of adventures. But all in all, I can certainly recommend More Prepared. All right, that's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, be sure to ring that bell because it'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. Come on, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.